Hi, I'm Dr. Courtney Howard. I'm speaking from Yellowknife Denee territory, the traditional territory of the Yellowknife Denee and the North Slave Métis. So I'm an emergency physician here. This is the subarctic. As an emergdoc, I serve a patient population that extends all the way up to the high Arctic. It's an area the size of France and Spain combined. So this part of the world is warming at between double and quadruple the global average, depending on which part of the territory you're talking about. We've been severely impacted by wildfires. Lancet Countdown data shows that we're not the only Canadians who've had that experience. So between 2018 and 2022, as compared to a reference average that wasn't that long ago, it was right about when I graduated from medical school, we've now experienced over 2 days of exposure to very high or high wildfire danger, which represents a 116% increase just in those about 15 years. Meanwhile, our personal wildfire smoke exposure has increased by about 220%. Now, this has had major consequences for health and health systems. I don't know if anyone else has gone and stood in the parking lot of Fort McMurray Hospital, but I have, and you can see burned trees in two directions if you're standing there in the emergency department parking lot. They evacuated in a matter of hours without loss of life, which I consider to be just an absolutely heroic act. But this represents a really near miss of the sort that we do not want to have when it comes to hospitals. My own hospital needed to be evacuated this summer as well. It's a 100-bed hospital. We're not talking a little hospital in the middle of nowhere. We are a regional center that the whole North relies upon. And it took people from 2 provinces and a military evacuation operation to get our 100 people to safety. It was an over 1,000-kilometer evacuation. As part of that, 70% of the people in the Northwest Territories were evacuated. Now, we see from some of the early data that the greenhouse gas emissions from these wildfires have almost, what it says, has more than doubled Canada's planned cumulative anthropogenic emissions reductions over the next 10 years. And so what that means is that the actual greenhouse gas emissions emitted by these wildfires are starting to make it difficult for us as a country to have a net decrease in greenhouse gas emissions. This really underscores the urgency of the mitigation that Dr. Claudel Pétrin-de Rosier was really highlighting. We need to make sure that we start to decrease greenhouse gas emissions through fossil fuel phase out and other measures as quickly as possible, because the thing is that just like human bodies depend on all of our organ systems to work well, and our heart needs to work in concert with our lungs. And when we go in there to the trauma room as an emergency physician, someone comes in unstable, we want to act as quickly as possible while all of the organ systems are still working, because if we give a medicine at that point, it actually works and we can bring the person back to stability. What we're seeing right now is signs that the Earth system itself is starting to become somewhat unstable. We don't want to see what happens once her organ system starts shutting down and we start getting positive feedback loops. So as Dr. Ross starts to talk about how we can protect health and health systems, and we talk more about fossil fuel phase out and how we can decrease greenhouse gas emissions with regards to health systems, I just want to say thank you for this work that we're all going to do together from one of the parts of Canada that is most severely impacted, particularly one where Indigenous peoples who have done some of the least to produce some of these emissions that have caused the problem are being so very highly impacted. Thank you.